10 a.m. by the studio clock. You're watching Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha. Let's start the bulletin with the top stories first. Coordination trial run for odd-even scheme for vehicles underway in Delhi, a day ahead of its rollout. But the Delhi High Court has given Kejriwal government time till the 6th of January to explain why women and two-wheelers have been exempt. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley says shrinking strength of the Congress in Rajya Sabha will ultimately pave way for the GST passage. Congress has said the bill cannot be cleared as preparatory work for the new tax regime is incomplete. Election Commission asked Chhattisgarh Chief Secretary to urgently probe audio tapes suggesting fixing of bypoll held last year. Congress seeks Chief Minister Raman Singh's resignation. Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif says it is high time India and Pakistan set aside hostilities. Thanks Prime Minister Modi for Lahore visit. Hopes goodwill gesture will persist. And the El Nino plays havoc with global weather systems. Severe flooding in large parts of the United States, UK and South America. Lakhs rendered homeless. Now, as we speak, a coordination trial run to check preparations of the odd-even scheme starting tomorrow is underway in Delhi. It's being conducted at 200 points since 9 a.m. and will go on till 11 a.m. 66 enforcement teams of Transport Department and 27 teams of sub-divisional magistrates will be deployed for the trial. In addition to this, 5,700 civil defense personnel, 1,000 cadets of the NCC and 1,000 volunteers of the National Service Scheme have also been deployed. The 15 days of odd-even car scheme will start from Friday.
इसमें कंफ्यूजन वाली कोई बात नहीं है। कल जो ट्रायल एक कोऑर्डिनेशन ट्रायल रन हम लोग कल कर रहे हैं, जिसमें सिविल डिफेंस के लोग कहां-कहां उनकी ड्यूटी लगेगी, कहां-कहां पर जो है ट्रैफिक पुलिस अपनी टीम लगा रही है, कहां एसडीएम लगेंगे, इन सारों का जो है कल फील्ड में हम लोग ये ट्रायल करेंगे 2 घंटे के लिए। इसमें पब्लिक पे कोई प्रभाव नहीं पड़ेगा, इसमें किसी का चालान नहीं काटा जाएगा, लेकिन लोग तख्तियां लेकर के खड़े होंगे और अवेयरनेस का काम करेंगे।
And to get more details on how this coordination trial run is being held in Delhi, we are being joined by our correspondent Anu Diwan, who's been on the ground tracking every minute detail. Anu, a very good morning. It's been called a coordinated trial run. So is that coordination actually visible between the Delhi police personnel, between the civil defense volunteers, and of course the commuters on road?
Exactly, Tina. It is just a day before the odd-even scheme to start. It's a coordination trial between the traffic police and the volunteers of civil defense. I would like to show you some of the shots and some of the images so that you can easily see that there are teams which have been deployed at different red lights so that they can understand that where they have to stand tomorrow for the odd-even scheme. You can see there at the red light nearby you, where you can see civil defense personnel is just standing and watching the crowd, the traffic, so that he can coordinate tomorrow that when the odd-even scheme starts from tomorrow 8 a.m. he knows his position, he knows his work, and there is no such confusion between the civil defense and the traffic police that what work they have to do and what not they have to do. Actually, talking about that who has to cut challan and who has to coordinate with the people about the traffic, about this scheme, it is only authorized to traffic police, not civil defense. Civil defense can only teach them that you don't have to do this and you don't have to do that, or you can do this.
So is that actually happening, Anu? Do you see the civil defense volunteers actually reaching out to commuters, explaining to them what rules they have to follow starting tomorrow?
Tina, there is no such activity like this that they are going to commuters, to each and every commuters. Only they are standing at their position. They are just coordinating among themselves. Traffic police is standing at one point. With them is the civil defense people standing and watching that if they are just working on what they have to do tomorrow. They are not actually talking to the commuters because it was already discussed that none of the commuters will be disturbed today as the scheme has to start from tomorrow. So it is just a coordination between the civil defense and the traffic police and Delhi police.
So, Anu, also one last question before we wind up. It's the first test for the Delhi government about its much-touted odd-even scheme. You've been speaking to Delhi officials. How confident does the Delhi government sound before that odd-even scheme is set to roll out tomorrow?
Tina, definitely it is a very first step and very challenging also, but Delhi government officials are very much confident as they are getting enormous response on Twitter, on social networking sites from general public. And talking to the people also, they are also willing to join this odd-even scheme in Delhi starting from tomorrow onwards. So we can say it's a challenge for Delhi government, but it cannot be possible until and unless people themselves go and join this event.
All right, Anu, many thanks for giving us those details. Now, since it's a new radical way of car rationing in Delhi, there's of course a minor hiccup. The Delhi High Court has sought an explanation from the Delhi government on why women drivers and two-wheelers were exempt from this odd-even trial to curb pollution. The court has sought a response by the 6th of January. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, hundreds of school children took a pledge in the Chief Minister's presence to fight pollution. The state government's ambitious odd-even scheme is all set to roll out from tomorrow.
The Delhi government's odd-even formula, which is all set to kickstart from January 1st, 2016, has invited a new controversy. The Delhi High Court has asked the Aam Aadmi Party government to give the logic behind exempting women drivers and two-wheelers from the restrictions. It also issued a notice to the Delhi government asking them to file a status report within the week.
दिल्ली को पोल्यूशन फ्री करना है. अब उसके लिए हमने कार फ्री डे किया, ऑड इवन करने जा रहे हैं. ऑड इवन का जो अनुभव आएगा उसके आधार पर और भी हम एक्सपेरिमेंट और भी प्लानिंग को लेकर के आगे बढ़ेंगे.
The court, however, refused to entertain a petition seeking exemption for lawyers. Traders and doctors have also been seeking exemption from the rule.
एडवोकेट है, हमारे पास कोई स्पेशल एक पर्टिकुलर ऑफिस नहीं है. वी हैव टू मूव फ्रॉम कोर्ट टू कोर्ट, ट्रिब्यूनल टू ट्रिब्यूनल, कमीशन टू कमीशन. दिस इज इन प्लेस इन फ्रंट ऑफ चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ हाई कोर्ट एंड विल
कब है इसकी सुनवाई?
ऑन 6th of January.
On Wednesday, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal led hundreds of school children in taking a pledge to convince parents to adhere to the odd-even scheme. Kejriwal said the formula could become a success only if everyone takes part. Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia was also present on the occasion.
Actually, ये तभी सक्सेसफुल होगा जब बहुत बड़ा मूवमेंट बन जाएगा, जब सब लोगों के दिल से ये बात निकलेगी. हमने इसलिए नहीं करना क्योंकि केजरीवाल कह रहे हैं, हमें इसलिए नहीं करना क्योंकि सरकार जबरदस्ती कर रही है, हमें इसलिए करना है क्योंकि हमें लगता है कि हमारी जिंदगी के लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है, हमारी हेल्थ के लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है.
Under the Delhi government's initiative, even-numbered vehicles will run on even dates and odd-number vehicles on odd dates. The trial from January 1st till the 15th is being conducted to battle rising pollution in the city. Anu Diwan's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
While the Delhi government prepares itself to roll out that odd-even scheme from tomorrow, there's trouble brewing up in the bureaucracy in the national capital. Senior officers of the Delhi, Andaman and Nicobar Islands Civil Service have decided to go on mass leave from today, protesting against what they call the illegal suspension of 2 colleagues by the Aam Aadmi Party government. Now, in a show of solidarity, the Arunachal Pradesh, Goa, Mizoram Union Territories Kada IS Association will also join their protest by going on half-day casual leave. More than 100 Danix officers hold key posts in the Delhi government and other agencies and form the backbone of the capital's administration network. This mass leave could severely hamper work in the city government. The Danix Officers Association has also written to the Union Home Ministry requesting the suspension order of 2 officers to be declared null and void, a development that could open up yet another turf war between the state and the centre. Now, the 2 Danix officials posted with the Home Department, Special Secretary Prisons Subhash Chandra and Special Secretary Prosecution Yashpal Garg, were suspended on Tuesday for insubordination after they allegedly refused to sign cabinet notes pertaining to a salary hike for public prosecutors and prison staff. And hitting out at the Congress party over the GST bill, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said on Wednesday that the shrinking strength of the party in the Rajya Sabha will pave way for the swift passage of the bill. He said Congress would lose on numbers in the next round of biannual elections for the Rajya Sabha, and even the number of UPA-nominated supporters in the House would come down. Jaitley was reacting to Congress leader Anand Sharma's recent remark, where he had said that the deadline to roll out the GST bill would not be met even if the Trinity of Gods descend on earth, because the centre was yet to complete preparatory work for the new indirect tax regime. The GST bill has been stuck in the Rajya Sabha where the opposition Congress is seeking 3 changes in the bill. The Congress, however, has said that the BJP is merely passing the buck on the GST issue.
The initiatives were shown and we placed our problems there. Not our problems, but the initiatives that we wanted, so that the GST would be of a solid base and that could be useful for the country at large. And that was the original idea. But so far, to the best of my knowledge, they haven't come back. So this business of numbers is just yet another attempt to divert the attention from the country.
The CPIM has decided on several measures to make its internal functioning more democratic. It's the last day of the party's plenum in Kolkata and the issue was in top focus as nearly 400 party leaders deliberated on the party's future. The leaders have also decided to fight against social injustice more openly. The decisions taken at the plenum will be implemented in a time-bound manner.
The CPIM has decided to give more voice to contrarian views within the party. The party believes that the principle of democratic centralism that establishes the supremacy of the leadership is misused to curb voices of dissent. The party's leaders have also been asked to establish connections with the masses.
We have reviewed the working of democratic centralism in the party, and we feel the key link today is to strengthen inner party democracy. That is the key link in the proper functioning of democratic centralism.
In a bid to bring more women into the party's folds, it has been decided that in the next 3 years, their participation will be increased by at least 25%. The party is also planning to reach out to the backward classes, minorities and the youth by giving them bigger roles. These decisions will be implemented in a time-bound manner.
Increasing the women's membership, we have given a 3-year target. Similarly, there are time-bound targets for various things.
CPIM leaders also admitted that they made mistakes in reading the pulse of the nation in the last few years. The leadership came in for a lot of criticism for this. Shyam Sundar's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has said it's high time India and Pakistan set aside their hostilities. Sharif expressed confidence that the spirit of goodwill generated by his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi's visit to Lahore will persist. He further said that the goodwill gestures are the solutions to many an ill. Sharif also thanked Modi for visiting Lahore last week. Remember, Modi had sprung a surprise when he visited Lahore on the occasion of Sharif's 66th birthday and his granddaughter's wedding on the 25th of December. The Pakistan Premier's comments came a day after his advisor on foreign affairs, Sartaj Aziz, said that foreign secretaries of India and Pakistan will meet in Islamabad on the 14th and 15th of January to prepare a schedule of meeting for the comprehensive dialogue covering Jammu and Kashmir and other contentious issues. That leads us into a very short break here. There's more detail on the other side. Do stay with us.
The leadership has really made a palpable difference to the country.
The Prime Minister pulling the rabbit out of the hat of this Pakistan trip, which is innovative.
Out-of-the-box ideas which Narendra Modi government perhaps would bank on, and that perception, you'd say, has dwindled quite a lot now.
There was a lot of talk of out of the box perhaps, but what was in the box nobody talked about.
What is the first urgent step which the government needs to take?
2 areas where it is still possible to absorb investment: the railways and the roads. All the money doesn't need to come from the government.
Watch our special year-end edition of To The Point only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. Now, the Union Cabinet approved the formation of joint venture companies with several states to enable the centre mobilize resources for various rail infrastructure projects. It also approved a 5,000 crore fund to promote solar rooftops across the country. More details in this report.
Aiming for a greater financial role of states in executing rail projects, the Union Cabinet on Wednesday approved the formation of a joint venture companies with several states. The Cabinet also gave approvals to several MOUs in various fields, including Sintef Norway and CPWD in the field of recycling of construction and demolition waste, MOU between the Ministry of Urban Development and Bloomberg Philanthropies to support the development of smart cities, Ex post facto approval for MOU among BRICS countries and BRICS Network University. MOU with Jordan for promoting cooperation in the field of information technology and electronics. Agreement between India and Maldives to exchange information on taxes. The CCEA also approved 5,000 crore rupees to promote solar rooftops in the country. It also approved amended technology upgradation fund scheme for textiles industry to generate investment of 1 lakh crore rupees and create 30 lakh jobs. The cabinet also approved the construction of 69 bridges, including approach roads on a major road section of the trilateral highway in Myanmar at a cost of 371 crore rupees. Also, the cabinet took note of the administrative arrangements for implementing the India-Australia Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement that came into force last month. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on to Chhattisgarh now, the Election Commission has asked the Chief Secretary of the state to urgently probe the alleged fixing of a bypoll in the state last year. The Congress has also demanded an SIT inquiry after audio tapes surfaced which suggested financial inducement behind the Congress candidate withdrawing from fray in an assembly bypoll held in 2014.
Chief Minister of Chhattisgarh Raman Singh on Wednesday rejected demands of a police investigation into an alleged fixing of a bypoll by the ruling BJP and the opposition Congress. A national daily made public some audio tapes that contain purported conversations between Congress members, including former Chief Minister Ajit Jogi and his son Amit Jogi and Raman Singh's son-in-law Puneet Gupta. The conversation suggests that money exchanged hands to make Congress candidate Manturam Pawar withdraw his nomination from the Antagar constituency. Singh rejected the allegations, calling it a result of faction fight in the opposition.
ये यदि कांग्रेस का आंतरिक गुटबाजी का नतीजा है और इस नतीजे के रूप में जबरदस्ती भारतीय जनता पार्टी को जोड़ने का काम कर रही है। कांग्रेस को हर चीज में भारतीय जनता पार्टी की भूमिका दिखती है।
The Congress demanded dismissal of the Singh's government. Singh, however, said that his son-in-law Gupta had nothing to do with politics.
जब चुनाव हुआ तभी भी हम लोग पता था छत्तीसगढ़ के मुख्यमंत्री इस हथकंडे में हाथ है। अगर सच बाहर आना है तो प्रधानमंत्री तुरंत सुप्रीम कोर्ट का निगरानी में एक जांच करवाना चाहिए। जब तक जांच हो मुख्यमंत्री इस्तीफा देना चाहिए।
वो अपनी सरकारी नौकरी करता है जबरदस्ती। अब कोई डॉक्टर रमन के परिवार को कोई नहीं मिला, मैं नहीं मिला, दूसरे नहीं मिले, तो उनको लगता है कि किसी को टारगेट बनाया जाए।
Pawar pulled out of the elections last minute, inviting his party's wrath and an expulsion. With Pawar out of the race, winning the bypoll became very easy for BJP. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And news from neighbouring Nepal now. Nepali Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is likely to visit China very soon. This development is likely to add fuel to the Madhesis' agitation to amend the constitution. Expressing deep concern over the emerging situation in Nepal, the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs has asked the government to take speedy action on this.
The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs is recommending to the government the need to treat the situation in Nepal with the utmost seriousness. The panel had a 2-hour-long discussion on the subject on Tuesday. Earlier, even the Consultative Committee on External Affairs Foreign Policy Advisory Committee that held discussions within the presence of Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj made similar suggestions. Members wanted an international media group and a political delegation from India sent to Nepal as soon as possible. Sushma Swaraj also apprised Parliament about the proposal, but so far no action has been taken.
I am not aware of the government having decided to accept my recommendation and create an all-party delegation of MPs to travel to Nepal as emissaries of the government of India and of the people of India to speak to the political establishment in Nepal on both sides and resolve the problem. I think that's something that we could do, but so far the government has not done it.
On the ground, India's delay in taking action is contributing to the rise of anti-India demonstrations. The Nepal government, on the other hand, is trying to get China over to its side. Soon after, Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Kamal Thapa returned from Beijing after a week's visit, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is leaving for China on his first visit. In addition to firming up agreements on oil and gas supply, Nepal is also expected to seek a comprehensive trade agreement to open checkpoints. Currently, China has temporarily agreed to give Nepal 14 million litres of oil.
परिमाणमा यो सहायता स्वरूप इन्धन प्राप्त भएको थियो करिब करिब त्यति नै छन् उसमा अब यो परिमाणमा थप फेरि अनुदानको रूपमा चाहिँ सहायता प्राप्त हुने प्रष्ट रूपमा जानकारी म तपाईहरुलाई गराउँछु.
China has expressed interest in extending a railway line and hydropower plant in Nepal. It remains to be seen now if Nepal's developing fondness for China is in order to build pressure on India or the Madheshis.
For cultural and geographical reasons, China will not like to come close to Nepal for a long time. It will be very costly and it may create instability in Buddhist Tibet. That's why it is suggested that Nepal should come close to the Madheshis and find a solution with them. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television in Delhi.
The El Nino weather phenomenon has played havoc with global weather systems, causing severe flooding in large parts of the United States, UK and South America. Lakhs of people have been rendered homeless due to the heavy flooding, while thousands continue to reel under miserable conditions with no power and diminishing food stocks. Now, US space agency NASA has warned that the effects of the current El Nino could be as bad as those of 1998, the strongest on record.
Rain-swollen rivers rose across Missouri and Illinois on Wednesday, forcing the evacuation of hundreds of people, closing parts of a major interstate highway and putting scores of buildings underwater after days of unusual winter flooding. A new video showed homes and businesses with water almost up to their roofs in Missouri and one cabin floating away, while crews in other areas put up sandbag barriers in hopes of keeping out water. Missouri Governor Jay Nixon called the flooding in his state very historic and dangerous and brought out the National Guard to help.
Wind and fights upstream means water moves downstream, and so we're putting a pretty significant concentration down in those areas. We fully expect to see continual rise in those areas over the next 6 to 8 hours and then all the way into tonight.
According to the National Weather Service, several major rivers, including the Mississippi River, were poised to crest at record levels as the floodwaters gushed towards the Gulf of Mexico. As floodwaters moved southward, Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal too declared a state of emergency to prepare for inevitable flooding. Flash flood warnings were also issued farther east for parts of the Carolinas and Georgia. Meanwhile, in Britain, torrential rains and gale-force winds battered the northern region, cutting power to thousands of homes and forcing some to evacuate flooded streets. This was the third major storm in a span of just 1 month. The powerful storm led to the collapse of a historic 18th century stone bridge in North Yorkshire town of Tadcaster. Further heavy rain has been predicted over the next few days, sparking warnings of more significant flooding in northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. Flood levels are forecast to be the worst for more than 30 years.
I don't know what we're going to do because we're not insured.
I don't want to be here anymore.
No.
I can't live here anymore.
El Nino effects are also being witnessed in parts of South America. Massive flooding in Paraguay, Peru and Bolivia have forced lakhs of people to abandon their homes in one of the worst spell of summer rains the region has seen in decades. The Paraguay River, which flows by the country's capital, has already reached 7.82 meters, its highest level since 1992.
Demasiado ha habido el agua, demasiado. Ha llovido para dar miedo. Demasiado. Es buen Dios hará lo que está haciendo. ¿Qué vamos a hacer nosotros?
With severe floods wreaking havoc in the United States, UK and South America, the Pope has appealed to people to pray for those affected by the extreme weather events. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And a look now at some other international stories this morning in World Wrap. Belgian authorities have called off the traditional New Year's Eve fireworks display in its capital, Brussels, due to fears of a militant attack. On Tuesday, 2 people suspected of plotting an attack in Brussels on New Year's Eve had been arrested during house searches in different parts of the country. Shortly after the announcement, technicians started taking down a stage and removing light and sound equipment that had been put in place on De Broek Square in central Brussels for the celebrations. A Pennsylvania court has arraigned U.S. comedian Bill Cosby on Wednesday over the charge of sexually assaulting a woman back in 2004. Cosby booked at a local police station and posted a $1 billion bond, turned over his passport, and was ordered to avoid any contact with his accuser. However, the comedian's attorneys called the criminal case against him unjustified and vowed to fight against it. Violent clashes erupted overnight in southeastern Turkish town of Cizre as a government security operation and curfew entered more than 2 weeks. Explosions, gunfire, smoke billowing from the buildings were seen in the area. Since the 2-year ceasefire between Kurdistan Workers' Party militants and Ankara fell apart in July, the mainly Kurdish southeast has been plunged back into a 3-decades-old conflict, which has killed more than 40,000 people. An Air Canada flight headed from Shanghai to Toronto hit severe turbulence on Wednesday, forcing the plane to land in Calgary. As many as 20 of more than 300 passengers on board may have suffered neck and back injuries. Emergency services and ambulances lined up outside of Calgary International Airport to ferry some of those during the harrowing flight to the hospital. According to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, over 1 million migrants crossed into Europe by sea in the year 2015. Out of that number, over 80% landed in Greece, while most of the others crossed the Mediterranean from Libya to Italy. The number of migrants and refugees who've been reported dead or missing while they were trying to cross the Mediterranean to reach Europe in 2015 climbed to 3,735, according to the UNHCR. And now a look at some sporting action this morning in Sports Beat. India will face Maldives in a high-voltage encounter in the SAF Cup semi-final today. The Indian team is in an impressive form as they started off their campaign with a 2-0 win against Sri Lanka, followed by a 4-1 victory over Nepal. But the team suffered a big blow as star striker Robin Singh was ruled out of the tournament due to a knee injury. Robin netted twice in India's win over Sri Lanka. Switzerland's Federal Office of Justice handed over the first batch of evidence to US authorities as part of an investigation into alleged bribery schemes for soccer marketing rights. The Federal Office of Justice also said it had frozen around $80 million in assets in 13 bank accounts following a US request for legal assistance. US prosecutors have indicted 27 current or former soccer officials over allegations that they ran bribery schemes connected to the sale of television rights for soccer competitions. Bangladesh fast bowler Shahadat Hussain was indicted for physically torturing an 11-year-old girl who he kept as a domestic help. Hussain was suspended from all cricket activity. He is currently on bail and may face up to 14 years in jail if found guilty. Manchester City were held to a goalless draw by Leicester City in the Premier League on Wednesday. Leicester are now level on points with league leaders Arsenal and 3 ahead of Manchester City, who are third. Manchester City are now winless in 6 away games, while it was the first time Leicester failed to score in 15 home matches. That's it from us in this bulletin. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.